A lot of Christian husbands hear the word leadership and immediately make one of two mistakes. Some men become passive. They say, I don't want to be controlling. So they avoid decisions, avoid conflict, avoid planning, avoid hard conversations, and then call that gentleness. Other men become controlling. They say, I'm the head of the house. So they start issuing commands, correcting every detail, and demanding respect before they have become respectable. Both men misunderstand leadership. In this video, I want to show you the difference between leadership and control. Because if you get this wrong, your wife will either feel abandoned or dominated, and in both cases, she will stop feeling safe with you. Near the end, I'll give you the exact sentence to use when you need to make a decision and your wife disagrees. Control asks, how do I make her do what I want? Leadership asks, what responsibility is mine before God? That's the difference. A controlling man focuses on authority first. A leader focuses on responsibility first. Passive man avoids responsibility. A controlling man uses authority to escape insecurity. A leader carries responsibility with steadiness. So when your wife says you're not leading, she may not mean boss me around more. Very often she means please stop making me carry everything alone. She means notice the problem before I collapse. She means make a plan before I beg. She means protect me before I have to become hard. She means take initiative before I lose respect. So here's a common example of what I've encountered in marriage coaching. A man says, my wife keeps criticizing me. I work all day, I help with the kids, I do the dishes. I don't know what else she wants. Then when we look closer, the issue isn't really the dishes. The issue is that the whole house runs from her mind. She tracks the school forms, the baby's appointments, the meal plans, the laundry rhythms, the family calendar, the in-law tensions, the prayer routine, the emotional climate, and the fact that the marriage itself is drifting. He helps when told, but he doesn't really carry anything. And then he says, just tell me what to do. Now that sentence might sound humble to him, but in marriage it often means you manage the home and I will be your assistant. That's not leadership. Real leadership has three signs. First, it anticipates. A leader sees the obvious problem early. He doesn't wait until his wife is furious before he acts. If bedtime is chaos every night, he doesn't ask, why are you so emotional? He says, this routine is failing. Tonight I'll handle bath, pajamas, and lights out. Tomorrow we'll simplify it. Second, it decides. A leader doesn't force every decision, but he doesn't leave every decision floating. Many homes suffer because no one decides. The family keeps circling the same problem. Where are we going on Sunday? Who's calling the plumber? When are we talking to my mother? How are we handling screen time? When are we going to confession? What is our plan for money this month? A husband doesn't need to win every detail, but he does need to create order. Third, it protects. Protection isn't just physical. It also means protecting the marriage from chaos, contempt, debt, neglect, in-laws, porn, overwork, and laziness. A man who protects says, this pattern is harming our family, and I'm going to fix it. Now compare that with control. Control says, you will do it this way because I said so. You are disrespectful if you disagree. You're the problem if you have emotions. I don't need to explain myself. You must submit to my decision, even when I haven't listened. That's not Catholic headship. It's just insecurity posing in a crown. And a husband's authority never gives him permission to be unjust, harsh, reckless, lazy, or contemptuous. Authority exists for service. The Lord gives authority so a man can order the home toward the good. Not so he can protect his ego. A husband's headship doesn't mean that every preference becomes a command. His authority serves justice, charity, protection, order, and the good of the household. A wife never owes obedience to sin, recklessness, cruelty, or spiritual manipulation. Here is the line that exposes whether you are leading or controlling. Can your wife tell that your decision is for the good of the family, or does it mainly protect your pride? That question might sting a bit, but good, let it sting. When you need to lead a decision, use this structure. I hear what matters to you. I'm weighing that seriously. I think the best decision for our family is this. Here's why. I'm willing to hear anything I've missed, but I don't want us to keep circling this forever. So that's firm without being cruel. For example, I hear that you want to keep the weekend open because you're exhausted. I also see that we've avoided the budget for 3 weeks and it's starting to create stress. I think the best decision is that we take 20 minutes Saturday morning to look at the numbers, then we leave the rest of the day free. I'm willing to hit anything I've missed, but I don't want us to keep pushing this off. That's leadership. You're not saying we're doing the budget because I said so. You're not saying fine, whatever you want. And you're not saying you always make everything hard. What if she resists? You don't escalate and you don't collapse. You say, I'm not trying to overpower you. I'm taking responsibility. I want to hear you, and I also want our home to have order. Then listen, not forever, not to a circular fight, but listen. If you discover that you missed something real, make an adjustment. A leader can change his mind without losing authority. If you discover she's simply anxious, angry, or resistant to any decision, stay calm and proceed with charity. Catholic terms, leadership needs prudence, justice, charity, and fortitude. Prudence sees reality. Justice gives each person what is due. Charity seeks the true good of the beloved, and fortitude keeps doing the good when it becomes hard. A man who lacks prudence makes foolish decisions. A man who lacks justice becomes harsh. A man who lacks charity becomes cold. A man who lacks fortitude becomes passive. So don't ask, how do I get more authority? Ask, where must I become more prudent, more just, more charitable, and more courageous? Here's your action for this week. Pick one small area where your home lacks order. Not the biggest crisis, just one small area. Could be bedtime, Sunday mass preparation, the budget, your mother's visits, the evening dishes, your phone in bed, or your transition from work to home. Then lead one concrete improvement. Not a speech or a lecture, but a real improvement. A woman can forgive a man who is learning, but it's much harder for her to respect a man who keeps analyzing leadership but never leads. Now here's a practical audit. Don't begin with the question, does my wife respect me? Begin with the question, where has my wife had to become the manager because I didn't become responsible? Look at these areas: time, money, children, parents, prayer, and repair. In each area, ask, do I know the current problem? Do I know the next step? Have I moved anything forward this week? If the answer is no, don't make a speech about leadership. Pick one area and carry it. If the calendar is chaotic, build the Sunday plan. The budget is vague. Gather the numbers. If your mother keeps crossing lines, write the message and send it yourself. If bedtime exhausts your wife, own one part of the routine without waiting to be applauded. Some men say, I tried to lead once and she pushed back. Of course she did. If you've been passive, careless, harsh, or inconsistent for years, one strong decision won't instantly make her relax. Trust grows when a woman sees the good pattern repeated without theatrics. You make a plan. You explain it briefly. You listen, you act, you follow through. You prepare when you fail. Then you do it again and again. Don't demand that she treat you like a seasoned captain while you're still learning to steer. Accept the work of rebuilding credibility. So the question isn't, how do I make her follow? The question is, what piece of order can I create today that makes our home lighter, safer, and more directed towards God. Your wife will not mainly believe your leadership because you describe it well. She'll believe it when the home becomes more orderly under your care. That means she sees appointments remembered, hard conversations initiated, small repairs completed, and promises kept without needing to become your supervisor. Start small, but make the small thing real. A man who faithfully carries one concrete responsibility teaches the whole house that his words have weight. If you want help applying this to your own marriage, click the link in the description or the pinned comment to get KnowlandBot. And if you want me to answer your question on the channel, leave it in the comments. Describe the situation clearly, don't mention any names, and I'll answer the best questions in future videos. Thanks for watching.